It's been a week since the biggest chapter of One Piece came out, and the internet and myself have finally had some time to digest it. Luffy, Joyboy, Sun God Nika, I am on the edge of my seat to discuss what's echoed in my mind since chapter 1043. If this isn't clear, this video is not anime only friendly, but good luck trying to keep yourself from these spoilers because they are absolutely everywhere. The immediate response I saw was either this chapter was perfection or that it takes away from Luffy's character because of the Chosen One narrative that's really common within shonen. Notably, people brought up that Oda pulled a Naruto moment, and I think comments like that are honestly short-sighted. Luffy has always been someone special, someone prophesized, an individual favored by the heavens, but that doesn't take away from his characterization. Roger as well was seemingly favored by the gods themselves, and acts of miracles are not uncommon within the world of One Piece, notably within these legendary figures. Inherited will has long since been a central theme of One Piece and is continually upon my retrospection one of my favorite elements of this story. Roger's last words to his best friend, his right hand, his words to Rayleigh were that he wouldn't die. Although Roger's physical life ended, the inherited will of Roger was passed on, and subsequently he'll never die due to this concept. We've seen time and time again the crew of Roger recognize the characteristics their captain had within Luffy. Luffy has the will of Roger within him, and it only logically makes sense that he would carry Joyboy's will as well. Whitebeard in his speech said in the future, someday, someone will appear carrying the history of all of those decades on their back, and challenge the entire world to a fight. A prophecy. Similarly, within Odin's journal, he stated they needed to open up Wano because Joyboy would return. A prophecy. Roger said he was too early. He found everything there was of this world. He knew what was to come. That Joyboy would return. A prophecy. There is knowledge of the future from these great individuals as if they had some type of foresight, and this buildup has lasted for years. Yet, none of us were ready for this reveal, despite it all pointing to Luffy. This is a testament to the penmanship of Oda because I have never seen a chapter break the internet and simultaneously cause so much despair due to Oda going on break after such a giant reveal. He wanted us to sit and dwell on this chapter, and that's exactly what the hell we're doing. Death and the obsession with Joyboy has been a central theme of Kaido. Upon his introduction, I thought his desire for annihilation largely stemmed from a sense of nihilism that arose due to his insurmountable strength, coped with a clear unstable mental state, and obvious alcoholism. At first impression, with his lamentations that Whitebeard was able to obtain death, I thought that Kaido was upset that Whitebeard was able to die, which Kaido wanted, and although partially I was right, I believe there's much more to it than Kaido simply wanting to die. Particularly were revealed so much within Wano. Kaido notably states that death is human completion, and I've seen so many people analyze this scene time and time again, especially with the reveal from chapter 1043. After all, death is the culmination of life, but it's much deeper than we initially thought, and I think that's why there's so much discussion regarding it. Whitebeard in his death, similarly to Roger, was immortalized. Both in their death, they ignited the belief and fervor of the One Piece. Their will was passed on to others, resulting in their immortality. It's not simply death that Kaido wants, it's the type of death he wants, and perhaps what awaits those who reach the end. He knows that death is far more than the cessation of life. Through King's flashback, we understand that Kaido at one point wanted to be Joyboy. He shared the same light in his eyes similarly to individuals like Luffy and Roger, but Kaido likely came to the realization he couldn't be Joyboy, that he wasn't Joyboy. This, although a theory, makes a lot of sense to me. Kaido, knowing he couldn't become Joyboy, instead became a gatekeeper to him. Right now, it's unknown how Kaido found out so much information about Joyboy. God only knows what Rox was able to tell him, but he knew that Joyboy would have to come through Wano, so he set up Wano as his own. He awaited Joyboy. I'm sure he thought when Ace came to Wano that Ace was Joyboy and it made sense. He was the son of Roger. Roger even thought his own son could be this legendary figure, but he wasn't. Kaido continually waited for this legendary figure, the one he couldn't be. It's stated numerous times that Kaido wanted to die in a great war, and it's very likely we're witnessing this great war as we speak. With Luffy's arrival, he gave all the characteristics of being the liberator, the one to put an end to Kaido, to his terrorism and his unholy regime, to grant Kaido a death from the man with the title he wanted more than anything. But Luffy failed. He wasn't able to win. Without dying and losing the life from his lungs, Luffy couldn't awaken his devil fruit. I understand that it's unknown in full detail whether Luffy in fact actually died, but let's go with the assumption that many of us have. that he did. Death has since become a central topic of the community since this chapter aired, that death may be the only way to awaken a deeper power. Whether that be Luffy awakening the true nature of his devil fruit, or Zoro meeting with death to have Enma, the king of hell, truly submit to him, a power-up in and of itself. But it doesn't seem that simply dying is the way to awaken one's inner power. It is the loss of life whilst the will to fight continues. A will so strong that it defies death itself. Zoro in his fight versus King refused to be defeated. He made a promise, a vow, that allowed him to push past his pain, his damaged body, and win versus King. Luffy, we've seen before, refuses to lose and surrender even when he's unconscious. We saw this after his first loss to Kaido, and despite his incapacitation, he admitted his conqueror's haki because his will refused to surrender. Now Luffy, despite being defeated by Kaido, he knows this isn't over, that without him, Wano will fall into slavery, torment, and despair, that if he loses, he won't become Pirate King. This incessant desire to unwaveringly pursue what he wants, to win, to conquer. Luffy, although loses his life, he simultaneously never died. As we know, all those who possess the middle initial D die with a smile on their face. Luffy in his defeat did not die with a smile. He wasn't defeated, he knew this wasn't the end of his life. Perhaps his devil fruit upon his death truly surrendered to him. It brought him back. It's not talked about very much, but devil fruits aren't merely tools. They come across to me as something more than that. They exist within the user and likely have their own spirit and soul. This devil fruit in question is what I believe was discussed by the Gorosei. It just took a lot more than most users to awaken. It took becoming Joyboy for it to awaken. Joyboy's initial fruit. That through death, the fruit recognized Luffy as possessing the same characteristics as its likely former user, and that it brought Luffy back. I don't believe Luffy is possessed. He's awakened. The awakening of the devil fruit is what I believe Zunisha recognized as Joyboy, that Zunisha in fact recognized the added power that Luffy's awakening caused, not that Luffy was possessed by the spirit of Joyboy, which many people seem to think, which I initially thought as well. But remember, Joyboy is a title, an inherited will, the will of those who seek freedom and liberation. Zunisha said the drums of liberation. This isn't the first time we see instruments play a thematic role within the story. Within Chandora, we saw the golden bell ringing admit to all Skypiea the existence of the City of Gold, that the stories were right, that it wasn't a fairy tale. These drums represent the freedom to come to Wano's long night. Joyboy and Luffy have represented utter freedom, for themselves and for others, for bringing a new dawn. Now hear me out, the themes don't end here. The crescent moon tattoo within the individuals who supported the Kozuki restoration, they serve a larger, greater thematic purpose. Its theme is representing the night amongst Wano, that the reign of Kaido that has cast a shadow lasting 20 years. Toki's prophecy leads into this entirely, that the new dawn is approaching. It gets even better. Wano is inspired by Japan, the land of the rising sun, and now Luffy, fully established not only as Joyboy, but Sun God Nika, further drives home the point that Luffy will draw them out of the darkness, that he'll lead them into the rising sun, the new dawn. It's perfect timing for the awakening of Joyboy to take place at the end of the chapter. Kaido touted the slavery to come, the lack of freedom and disposability of the people of Wano. All things that Joyboy and Luffy stand firmly against. Kaido became a fan favorite pretty quickly throughout Wano, and a lot of people found him likable, but he isn't. His status as a monster and villain, as someone evil, is reminded to us here in these moments. Luffy and Kaido, freedom versus slavery. The battle not only of two conquerors, but the battle of ideology is present throughout this fight. Joyboy, Sun God Nika, and Luffy. Individuals and myths who sought freedom, who came to shine light to those imprisoned, those looked down upon, those who were treated as lesser than. Isn't it crazy that it took a CP0 agent causing Luffy's defeat for this to happen? Him tipping his hat before his death was incredibly cool, and he surprised me as a character I respect despite his interference in Luffy and Kaido's fight because he brought out the best of Luffy. If not for our masked man, we would have never been able to see Luffy in this form. Speaking of his form, within chapter 1042, Kaido questions the ability of rubber to change its direction when he was getting hit by Snake Man. He questions the very nature of Luffy's devil fruit and how Luffy was able to manipulate it in ways that rubber doesn't ordinarily work. This could be possible foreshadowing that Luffy's devil fruit isn't just the Gomu Gomu no Mi, that there's far more to it. And how fitting if that's the case, that Luffy of all people was able to make it this far using his devil fruit improperly. After all, it fits Luffy, similarly to when Zoro saw Luffy use his sword incorrectly. Luffy could have merely been scratching the potential of his devil fruit wielded by the former Joyboy. Although far-fetched, the Gorosei did hide the name of this devil fruit, implying that its current name is a misnomer. Although I could rant all day about this, but I think we should save that for the next video. Guys, if you enjoyed this discussion of Joyboy's sun god Nika, death, and all the themes that we saw within chapter 1043 all come to fruition, please let me know in the comment section below and subscribe if you haven't already. We reached 700 subscribers yesterday, which is such a great milestone, and we are closer and closer to 1,000. I appreciate all of y'all's support, and as always, be greedier.